The diamond bracelet sat in the center of the dining room table like an accusation. My Aunt Linda stood behind it, arms crossed, her face set in an expression I'd seen 100 times before. Righteous anger mixed with theatrical hurt. She'd perfected this look over 63 years of getting exactly what she wanted through calculated emotional manipulation. "I'm not saying you definitely took it," she said, her voice carrying that particular tone that meant she was absolutely saying exactly that. "I'm just saying it was in my jewelry box yesterday morning, and now it's gone. And you were the only person in my bedroom." I was sitting at that same dining table, my coffee going cold in front of me, trying to process the fact that my mother's sister had just accused me of theft. Not implied. Not suggested. Accused. In front of my cousin Rachel, my uncle Tom, and my grandmother, who was looking at me with uncertainty that felt like a knife between my ribs. My name is Sophie Chin. I'm 34 years old, and I'd flown from Seattle to Providence to help my grandmother after her hip surgery. I'd taken 2 weeks off from my job as a cybersecurity consultant, rearranged client meetings, and used my vacation time to be here because family mattered. Because Grandma had raised me for 3 years when my parents were going through their divorce. Because I loved her and wanted to help. I'd been staying at Aunt Linda's house because that's where Grandma was recovering. Linda had the first-floor bedroom that made sense for someone with mobility issues. And I'd been sleeping in the guest room upstairs, helping with meals and physical therapy appointments and the 1,000 small tasks that come with caring for someone who's healing. "I didn't take your bracelet," I said, keeping my voice level. "I went into your room once, yesterday afternoon, to get the heating pad from your bathroom. I was in there maybe 2 minutes. 2 minutes is plenty of time to pocket a bracelet. Why would I steal from you?" "I'm not making accusations, Sophie. I'm just trying to understand what happened to a piece of jewelry worth $15,000. $15,000. She'd put a price on it. Made it concrete. Made it serious enough that this wasn't just a missing bracelet, but a crime." Rachel, Linda's daughter, shifted uncomfortably in her chair. She was 2 years younger than me, and we'd been close as kids. Less so as adults, especially after Linda had inserted herself into every aspect of Rachel's life, her marriage, her career choices, her parenting decisions. But Rachel was still my cousin, and I caught her eye, looking for some sign that she knew this was insane. She looked away. "Linda, maybe it just fell behind the dresser," Uncle Tom suggested. He was Linda's husband, a quiet man who'd learned early that disagreeing with his wife meant hours of emotional warfare. "We should check everywhere before we start." "I've checked everywhere," Linda interrupted. "I spent 2 hours this morning going through that room. It's not there. It's gone." "Then maybe you misplaced it," I said. "Maybe you put it somewhere else and forgot." "I don't misplace things. I'm very careful with my jewelry. That bracelet was a gift from Tom for our 30th anniversary. I know exactly where I keep it." "I'm not saying you're careless. I'm saying mistakes happen. But what's not happening is me stealing from you." Linda's eyes narrowed. "Your tone is very defensive." "My tone is the tone of someone who's been falsely accused." "No one's accusing you. I'm just asking questions. You stood there and said I was the only person in your room, then mentioned the bracelet's value, then suggested I pocketed it. That's not asking questions. That's making an accusation without the courage to say it directly." "Sophie, there's no need to be hostile," Grandma said quietly. Her voice was thin, still recovering from the surgery and the pain medications. "Linda's upset. Something valuable is missing. We all just need to stay calm and figure this out." I looked at my grandmother, at this woman I'd dropped everything to help, and saw doubt in her eyes. Not certainty of my innocence. Doubt. As if 34 years of knowing me wasn't enough to counter Linda's theatrical suggestion that I was a thief. "I'm going for a walk," I said, standing up. "When you're ready to look at this rationally instead of assuming I'm a criminal, let me know." "Running away doesn't make you look innocent," Linda called after me. I grabbed my jacket and left through the front door, walking with no destination in mind. Just away. Away from Linda's accusations and Rachel's silence and Grandma's doubt. Away from the family gathering that had turned into an interrogation. The neighborhood was quiet at 9 in the morning. Nice houses on tree-lined streets, the kind of suburb where people knew their neighbors and left their doors unlocked. I'd spent summers here as a kid, playing in these streets with Rachel, swimming in the community pool, feeling safe and loved. That safety had been an illusion built on Linda's ability to control narratives. I'd seen it before, the way she'd rewrite reality to suit her needs, the way she'd position herself as victim even when she was the aggressor. But she'd never turned it on me before. I'd always been peripheral enough to avoid her focus. Not anymore. My phone buzzed. Rachel, where did you go? Mom's really upset. I didn't respond immediately. Stood on a corner, watching a woman walk her dog, trying to organize my thoughts into something coherent. Finally, I typed back, "Your mom accused me of stealing." I removed myself from a hostile situation. That's not running away. That's self-preservation. Rachel, she's just scared. That bracelet means a lot to her. Then she should look for it instead of blaming me. Can you just come back and talk this through? For Grandma's sake. For Grandma's sake. The magic words that had gotten me on a plane in the first place. The emotional lever that Linda knew exactly how to pull. I walked back to the house. Not because I wanted to. Because leaving would have been seen as guilt, and I refused to accept that narrative. Linda was in the living room with Grandma when I returned. Tom had apparently escaped to his workshop in the garage. Rachel met me at the door. "Thank you for coming back." I didn't leave. I took a walk. "Mom wants to talk to you. Privately. Whatever she has to say, she can say in front of everyone. Sophie, please. Just hear her out." I followed Rachel into the living room. Linda was sitting in the chair next to Grandma's recliner, her posture perfect, her expression carefully composed. She'd changed tactics. I could see it in the slight softening of her eyes, the way she'd positioned herself as caretaker rather than accuser. "Sophie, sit down. Please." I remained standing. "What do you want to say?" "I want to apologize. I was upset about the bracelet and I spoke hastily. I shouldn't have implied that you took it." "You didn't imply. You stated it directly." "I was emotional. That bracelet has sentimental value beyond its monetary worth." "But you're right, I shouldn't have jumped to conclusions." "So you believe I didn't take it?" She hesitated. Just for a second, but I caught it. "I believe we need to find out what happened to it." "Those aren't the same thing." "Sophie, your aunt is trying to apologize," Grandma said. "Can't you meet her halfway?" Halfway would require her to actually apologize instead of justifying why she accused me. Halfway would require her to say clearly that she knows I didn't steal from her. Linda's mask slipped slightly. "I'm trying to be gracious here. You're trying to smooth over the fact that you accused your niece of being a thief without evidence. That's different from being gracious." "I think perhaps you should consider finding somewhere else to stay," Linda said, her voice cooling. "If you're going to be this hostile, it's not healthy for Mother to be around this stress." There it was. The real goal. Not an apology. Not reconciliation. Just removal. Linda wanted me gone because my presence was inconvenient, and the missing bracelet was the perfect excuse. "You want me to leave," I said slowly. "Even though Grandma needs help. Even though I took time off work to be here. You want me gone because I won't accept being called a thief. I want you gone because you're creating drama instead of helping us solve a problem. The problem is your missing bracelet. I didn't take it. That solves the problem as far as I'm concerned. Then who did take it? Maybe no one took it. Maybe it's lost. Maybe you'll find it tomorrow in a coat pocket or a drawer you didn't check. But even if someone did take it, it wasn't me, and I'm not going to confess to something I didn't do just to make you feel better." Grandma struggled to sit up straighter. "Girls, please. This fighting isn't helping anyone. Sophie, maybe it would be better if you stayed at a hotel for a few days. Just until we sort this out." I looked at my grandmother, feeling something crack in my chest. "You want me to leave too?" "I just think some space might help everyone calm down." I am calm. I'm accused of theft and being kicked out, but I'm completely calm. What I'm not doing is accepting blame for something I didn't do. "No one's blaming you," Linda said with exaggerated patience. "We're just asking for space while we figure things out. You're asking me to leave Grandma's care in your hands exclusively. Which I notice is exactly what you wanted from the beginning." Linda's expression hardened. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means you've been territorial since I arrived. Making sure I understood this was your house, your rules, your mother. Never mind that she's my grandmother too. Never mind that I offered to help. You wanted full control, and I was in the way. That's ridiculous. Is it? You've corrected every meal I've made. Criticized every way I've helped with physical therapy. Made comments about how you know Mother better than anyone. This bracelet thing is just the excuse you needed to get what you wanted. I will not be spoken to this way in my own home. Then I'll leave. But I'm not leaving because I stole anything. I'm leaving because you've created an environment where I can't stay without accepting a false accusation. And I won't do that. I went upstairs and packed my suitcase. Took 15 minutes to gather everything I'd brought, checking carefully to make sure I wasn't leaving anything behind. The last thing I needed was Linda claiming I'd stolen something else. Rachel knocked on the open door as I was zipping my suitcase. You don't have to leave. Yes, I do. Your mother gave me an ultimatum. Accept being called a thief or leave. I'm leaving. She didn't say it like that. That's exactly how she said it. She just used prettier words. What about Grandma? She needs help. She has your mother. And you. And the physical therapist who comes 3 times a week. She'll be fine. But you came all this way. I came to help someone who needed me. It turns out she doesn't need me enough to defend me against false accusations. That's information. I'm acting on it. Rachel sat on the edge of the bed. I know my mom can be difficult. Difficult is having strong opinions about dinner. This is accusing someone of a crime. She really is attached to that bracelet. Then she should look for it instead of blaming me. Rachel, you were there. You heard her. Do you think I stole it? She was quiet for a moment too long. Wow, I said. You actually have to think about it. I don't think you stole it. But I also don't think Mom would accuse you without reason. The reason is that I was convenient. I was in her room. I'm not immediate family by her standards. And I challenged her authority. That's enough reason for Linda. That's not fair. What's not fair is being accused of theft by my aunt while my cousin sits there saying nothing. I didn't know what to say. You could have said you knew I didn't do it. You could have suggested looking harder for the bracelet. You could have defended me. Instead, you said nothing. And now you're up here asking me not to leave while simultaneously suggesting your mother had reason to suspect me. I picked up my suitcase. Rachel didn't move from the bed. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I should have said something. Yes, you should have. I went downstairs. Linda was still in the living room with Grandma. I stopped in the doorway. I'm leaving. Grandma, I hope your recovery goes well. If you need anything, call me. If Linda needs anything, she can handle it herself. Sophie, don't leave like this, Grandma said, her voice cracking. I'm leaving exactly like this. I was accused of a crime. The accuser refuses to retract the accusation. Staying would mean accepting it. I won't. Where will you go? A hotel. Then home to Seattle once I can change my flight. I have a life there. A job. People who don't think I'm a thief. Linda stood up. You're being incredibly dramatic about this. You accuse me of stealing a $15,000 bracelet. That's not drama. That's a serious allegation. And you still haven't said clearly that you believe I didn't take it. I've apologized for my tone. Not for the accusation. Just for your tone. Which means you still think I took it. So there's nothing left to discuss. I walked out before anyone could respond. Put my suitcase in my rental car and drove away from that house, from that family, from the situation Linda had constructed to get exactly what she wanted. I checked into a Marriott near the airport. Sat on the generic hotel bed and cried. Not because I was guilty. Because I'd been presumed guilty by people who should have known better. Because my grandmother had chosen Linda's feelings over my innocence. Because Rachel had stayed silent when silence was the same as agreement. My phone buzzed repeatedly. Grandma calling. Rachel texting. I ignored both. Ordered room service and opened my laptop, channeling emotion into work. I had client emails to answer, security protocols to review, reports to finish. Work that valued my expertise instead of questioning my character. Around 8 that evening, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Local area code. I almost didn't answer, then curiosity won. Hello. Sophie? This is Tom. Linda's husband. Hi, Tom. I'm calling from a client's phone. Linda doesn't know I'm calling. Do you have a minute? I sat up straighter. Sure. I need to tell you something. About the bracelet. Linda didn't lose it. She pawned it. The words took a moment to process. She what? 3 weeks ago. She took it to a pawn shop in Cranston. I found the receipt in her car yesterday when I was looking for my insurance card. She got $2,000 for it. But she said it was worth $15,000. It probably was. Pawn shops don't give you full value. But that's not the point. The point is she knew exactly where that bracelet was. She pawned it. And then she accused you of stealing it. I felt cold. Why would she do that? Because she's embarrassed. We've been having money problems. Nothing catastrophic, just tight. She's been selling jewelry gradually, pawning things she thought I wouldn't notice. When I asked about the bracelet last week, she panicked. Started saying she hadn't seen it in a while. Then when you arrived, she saw an opportunity. An opportunity to blame me. I think she convinced herself it was lost, and then your presence made it easy to imply someone took it. She didn't plan to accuse you specifically. But once it came out of her mouth, she couldn't take it back without admitting she'd pawned it. So she let me leave believing I was under suspicion of theft rather than admit the truth. I'm sorry. I tried to talk to her about it tonight. She's convinced herself she lost it before pawning it, that her memory's wrong about the dates. She's rewritten the whole story in her head. Does Grandma know? Not yet. I wanted to tell you first. Give you the option of how to handle it. I thought about that. About marching back to the house with this information, confronting Linda in front of everyone, forcing her to admit what she'd done. It would feel satisfying for about 5 minutes. Then it would create family warfare that would last years. What do you want to do, Tom? Honestly? I want to tell Linda I'm done with the lies. That she needs to come clean to you and to Mother. But I know what will happen. She'll cry. She'll say she was confused. She'll make herself the victim. And everyone will feel sorry for her and forget that she accused you of a crime to cover her own embarrassment. So we do nothing? I didn't say that. I'm saying I'll handle Linda. But you deserve to know the truth. And you deserve an apology. A real one. I'm not holding my breath. I'll talk to her tonight. But Sophie? Whatever happens, I know you didn't take anything. I never believed that. I should have said so this morning. Yeah, you should have. He hung up. I sat holding the phone, processing. Linda had pawned her own bracelet. Then accused me of stealing it. Then kicked me out rather than admit the truth. And the family had gone along with it, had let me leave under a cloud of suspicion because it was easier than challenging Linda's narrative. The rage I felt was clean and clarifying. Not the messy emotion of self-doubt, but the sharp anger of someone who'd been deliberately wronged. I opened my laptop and pulled up the security camera footage from my home system in Seattle. I'd installed cameras throughout my house as a cybersecurity professional, part of my own testing and demonstration setup. I used similar systems for client consultations. And I always backed everything up to secure cloud storage, including the footage from the body camera I wore during client site visits. The small, discreet camera I'd been wearing clipped to my jacket when I went into Linda's bedroom yesterday to get that heating pad. I'd forgotten about it until now. It was second nature to wear it during work travel in case I needed to document security vulnerabilities or client-site conditions. I'd still been wearing it when I arrived at Linda's house. Still wearing it when I'd gone into her bedroom. I downloaded the footage and watched it. 2 minutes and 17 seconds of me entering Linda's bedroom, going directly to her bathroom, finding the heating pad in the cabinet under the sink, and leaving. I never approached her dresser. Never opened a drawer. Never touched anything except the heating pad and the bathroom door handle. Clear, time-stamped, undeniable proof. I saved 3 copies. 1 to a USB drive. 1 to my secure cloud backup. 1 to a separate encrypted drive. Then I edited the footage down to those 2 minutes and 17 seconds, nothing more, nothing less. Just the evidence of my innocence. And then I waited. The call came at 10:30 that night. Linda. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to the message. Sophie, it's Linda. Tom and I had a long conversation. There's been a misunderstanding about the bracelet. I'm calling to clear things up. Could you call me back? Please. A misunderstanding. Not a lie. Not a false accusation. A misunderstanding. As if we'd simply gotten confused about reality rather than her deliberately constructing a narrative to cover her embarrassment. I didn't call back. 30 minutes later, Rachel texted, "Mom needs to talk to you. Please call her. She can text me what she needs to say. She wants to do it properly." Voice to voice. She accused me of theft. There's no proper way to walk that back except complete honesty. I doubt she's capable of that. Sophie, please. She's really upset. Good. She should be upset. She falsely accused me of a crime. My phone rang. Grandma this time. I answered. "Sophie, honey. Linda told me what happened. With the bracelet." "What did she tell you happened?" "That she'd misplaced it weeks ago and forgotten. That she'd mixed up the timeline in her head. That she was wrong to suggest you took it." "Is that the whole story?" "That's what she told me. She's very sorry. She wants you to come back." "I'm not coming back, Grandma. But I need you here. The physical therapy is hard, and Linda has her hands full. Linda has exactly what she wanted. Me gone, her in control. I'm not interested in returning to a place where I was accused of theft based on nothing." She said it was a misunderstanding. It was a calculated accusation. There's a difference. You're being very stubborn about this. I'm being very clear about my boundaries. I won't accept being treated like a criminal in order to make Linda's life easier. What about making my life easier? Don't I matter in this? The guilt landed exactly as intended. But I'd learned something important in the years since my divorce, since rebuilding my life from scratch. Guilt only works if you accept it. If you agree that other people's comfort is worth more than your own dignity. You matter, Grandma. But not more than my self-respect. Linda owes me a full, honest apology. Until I get that, I'm staying away. She apologized. What more do you want? I want the truth. Did she tell you she pawned the bracelet? Silence. Long enough to be its own answer. Tom told you, Grandma finally said. Tom told me the truth. Which Linda apparently didn't. So no, Grandma, she hasn't apologized. She's just offered another version of events that makes her look better. She's embarrassed about the money situation. That's not my problem. My problem is being accused of theft. Her embarrassment doesn't justify that. Can't you be understanding? She's going through a hard time. I was understanding right up until she accused me of being a criminal. That's where understanding ends and self-preservation begins. So you're just going to abandon me? Leave me here with Linda when you know we need help. You're choosing to be there. You're choosing to accept Linda's version of events even though you know it's not true. Those are your choices. I'm making mine. I hung up before she could respond. Felt terrible about it for approximately 10 seconds before the anger returned. They wanted me to accept a partial truth, to pretend the accusation hadn't been serious, to come back and play happy family while Linda's lie sat between us like poison. Not happening. The next morning, I got an email from Rachel. Subject line, "We need to talk." The message was longer than her usual texts. "Sophie, I know you're angry. You have every right to be. Mom was wrong. I was wrong for not speaking up. Tom told us about the body camera footage from your work. Can you send it? It would help Mom understand that you're serious about this." I read the email 3 times, getting angrier each time. They knew about the footage, which meant Tom had mentioned it to Linda. And now they wanted me to provide proof of my innocence, as if the burden of evidence was on me to prove I hadn't committed a crime I'd been accused of without evidence. I replied, "The footage exists. I'm keeping it. If Linda wants to apologize, really apologize, with full truth and accountability, I'll consider sharing it. But I'm not providing evidence to prove my innocence to people who should have believed me from the start." Rachel, you're making this harder than it needs to be. No. Linda made it hard by lying. I'm just refusing to make it easier for her. 2 days passed. I extended my hotel stay, told work I was taking the full 2 weeks as personal time, and started treating Providence like a solo vacation. I visited museums, ate at good restaurants, walked along the river, did everything except return to Linda's house and the family that had failed me. On the 3rd day, Tom called again. "Can we meet? Just you and me. No Linda." We met at a coffee shop in East Providence, far enough from Linda's neighborhood that we wouldn't accidentally run into anyone we knew. Tom looked exhausted, older than his 65 years. She won't admit it, he said after we'd gotten our coffees. I've tried every way I can think of. Showed her the pawn shop receipt. Walked through the timeline. Asked her directly to tell the truth. She's constructed this whole alternative reality where she lost the bracelet, forgot she lost it, and then in her confusion accused you. That's not what happened. I know. You know. She knows deep down. But she can't admit it because admitting it means acknowledging she deliberately hurt you to protect herself. And Linda doesn't see herself as someone who does that. What does she see herself as? A good person who made a mistake under stress. That's the story she's telling herself. And everyone else is going along with it because it's easier than dealing with the truth. Including you. He flinched. I told her the truth. I'm not going along with it. But you're staying with her. You're not demanding she come clean. You're managing the situation instead of fixing it. What do you want me to do, Sophie? Divorce her over a bracelet? I want you to stop pretending this is about a bracelet. It's about her lying and then accusing me of a crime to cover that lie. It's about her prioritizing her pride over my reputation. It's about the whole family being willing to let me walk away under suspicion rather than force her to tell the truth. I know. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you're all choosing Linda's comfort over my dignity. And that tells me everything I need to know about where I stand in this family. Tom looked into his coffee. What would it take for you to forgive her? A real apology. Public acknowledgement to everyone who heard the accusation that she was wrong. Actual accountability instead of just calling it a misunderstanding. And honestly, I'm not sure even that would be enough. She'll never do that. Then we have nothing else to discuss. I stood up. Tom grabbed my arm gently. Wait. The footage. Do you really have it? Yes. What are you going to do with it? Nothing, probably. Keep it as proof if anyone ever asks. But I'm not interested in publicly humiliating Linda. I just want to be left alone. Can I see it? Just so I know. I pulled out my phone and played the 2 minutes and 17 seconds. Watched Tom's face as he saw me enter the bedroom, get the heating pad, leave without touching anything else. Saw relief and sadness and resignation cross his features. Thank you, he said quietly, for showing me. Why does it matter? You already knew the truth. Because seeing it makes it real. Makes it impossible to pretend there's any gray area. You were in that room for 2 minutes. You didn't take anything. And Linda knew that when she accused you. So what now? Now I go home and have another conversation with my wife. And I accept that she probably won't change her story. And I decide whether I can live with that. He left the coffee shop first. I sat for a while longer, finishing my coffee, thinking about families and truth and the price of maintaining peace at the expense of honesty. My phone buzzed. Grandma, please come back. I miss you. I didn't respond. Missing me wasn't the same as defending me. And I was done accepting crumbs of affection from people who wouldn't stand up for me when it mattered. A week after the accusation, I was packing to fly back to Seattle when someone knocked on my hotel room door. I checked the peephole. Rachel. I opened the door. How did you know where I was staying? You charged the room to your credit card. I work at a hotel chain. I called around. Can I come in? I stepped back, letting her enter. She looked nervous, carrying a large envelope. I came to give you this. She handed me the envelope. And to say I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not the fake sorry my mom's been offering. Real sorry. I opened the envelope. Inside was a printed document. A full, detailed account of what had happened with the bracelet, written and signed by Tom. The pawn shop receipt. Transaction dates. Everything. Why are you giving me this? Because you deserve proof. Because if anyone ever questions what happened, you'll have documentation from someone who was there. And because I should have done this a week ago instead of sitting silent while my mother railroaded you. I sat on the edge of the bed, reading through the documents. They were thorough, detailed, damning. Does Linda know you're giving me this? No. And she'd kill me if she did. But I don't care anymore. What she did was wrong. What I did, not speaking up, was wrong. And I can't fix what happened, but I can at least give you evidence that you're not crazy. That it happened the way you said it did. Why no? Rachel sat in the room's only chair. I talked to my therapist about it. about the whole situation. And she asked me a question that I couldn't shake. She asked if I would be okay with my kids learning to handle conflict the way my family does. By lying, by blaming others, by protecting the aggressor instead of the victim. And I realized the answer was no. I'd be horrified if my kids did what we did to you. So this is about your kids? It's about the kind of person I want to be. I can't change my mother. God knows I've tried. But I can change me. I can choose to tell the truth even when it's uncomfortable. I can choose to stand with people who've been wronged instead of people who are just loud. I set the envelope aside. Your mom's going to be furious. Probably. But you know what? I'm tired of managing her feelings. I'm 32 years old. I've spent 3 decades making sure mom doesn't get upset. Making sure she feels validated and heard and right, even when she's wrong. I'm done. What changed? You did. Watching you refuse to accept the narrative. Refuse to come back and pretend everything was fine. Refuse to sacrifice your dignity for family peace. That was brave. And it made me realize how long I've been a coward. We sat in silence for a moment. Outside the hotel window, Providence hummed with afternoon traffic. I'm not coming back, I said finally. Even with this. Even with your apology. I can't be around Linda right now. I understand. But will you stay in touch with me? Can we rebuild something separate from the rest of the family? Maybe. I need time. I get that. She stood up, heading for the door. One more thing. The footage you have. The body camera. Can you send it to me? Why? Because I want to show it to my mom. Force her to see it. Make her confront what she did. I thought about it. Thought about Linda watching herself be proven wrong. Thought about the satisfaction of that moment. No. Rachel looked surprised. No, she won't learn anything from it. She'll just feel attacked. She'll find some way to dismiss it or reframe it or make herself the victim of my documentation. Showing her won't change her. It'll just give her ammunition to paint me as vindictive. So you're just letting her get away with it? I'm letting her live with her lie. There's a difference. She knows what she did. Tom knows. You know. Grandma knows even if she won't admit it. Linda has to live with knowing she accused an innocent person of a crime to cover her own embarrassment. That's punishment enough. Rachel nodded slowly. You're better than I would be. I'm not better. I'm just done. Done fighting. Done trying to force people to see truth they don't want to see. Done caring whether Linda acknowledges what she did. Her acknowledgement doesn't change reality. After Rachel left, I finished packing. Checked my flight details. Made sure I had everything I need to close this chapter and return to my actual life. My phone rang one last time. Linda. I almost didn't answer. Then curiosity won. Hello. Sophie. Rachel told me she went to see you. She did. She said some things. About documentation. About taking sides. I want you to know that I'm very hurt by the way you've poisoned my daughter against me. I laughed. Actually laughed out loud. I poisoned her? Linda, I haven't seen Rachel in a week. Whatever she said to you, she figured out on her own. She was fine until you started refusing to accept my apology. You made this into something it didn't need to be. You accused me of theft. That made it something. I just refused to pretend it wasn't. I explained that was a misunderstanding. It was a lie. You pawned the bracelet. You knew you pawned it. And you accused me anyway. That's not a misunderstanding. That's a deliberate choice. I don't know what Tom told you, but he's mistaken about the timeline. Linda, I don't care. I'm done with this conversation. I'm done with you. I'm going back to Seattle, and you can tell whatever story makes you feel better about what you did. Just leave me out of it. You're being incredibly immature about this. I'm being incredibly clear. There's a difference. I hung up, blocked her number, finished packing. The flight home was uneventful. I sat in my window seat, watching the country pass beneath me, thinking about family and truth and the cost of maintaining dignity in the face of deliberate wrong. When I landed in Seattle, my own apartment felt like sanctuary. Familiar. Safe. Mine. No accusations waiting. No need to prove innocence. Just my life, my space, my reality. I'd lost something in Providence. The illusion of family connection. The hope that blood ties meant unconditional support. The belief that people who'd known me for decades would default to trusting me. But I'd gain something too. Clarity. The understanding that some relationships aren't worth preserving if the price is accepting treatment I didn't deserve. The knowledge that walking away from toxicity wasn't abandonment, it was self-respect. 3 months passed. I threw myself into work, took on new clients, built security systems that protected what mattered. The irony wasn't lost on me. I spent my days protecting other people's valuables while my own family had accused me of stealing. Grandma called occasionally. I answered about half the time. Our conversations were surface level. Her recovery was going well. Linda was taking good care of her. The weather was changing. Nothing substantial. Nothing that acknowledged what had happened. I didn't push it. Grandma had made her choice. Linda's comfort over my vindication. It hurt, but it was information. And I was getting good at treating painful information as data rather than catastrophe. Rachel texted more regularly. Updates about her kids. Complaints about her mother. Slowly rebuilding the bridge between us. I responded but kept my distance. Trust, once broken, required time to repair. Then, for months after I'd left Providence, I got a call from Tom. Sophie, I need to tell you something. Linda's in the hospital. My stomach dropped. What happened? Heart attack. Small one, but it scared her. She's going to be okay, but the doctor said she needs to reduce stress. Make lifestyle changes. All the usual warnings. I'm sorry to hear that. She's been asking for you. Wants to talk to you. Tom, I can't. I'm not asking you to come. I'm just telling you. She's scared. Mortality has a way of making people reassess. Has it made her reassess enough to tell the truth? I don't know. But she wants to try to make things right. Her words, not mine. I sat with that for a moment. Linda, facing her own fragility, suddenly interested in reconciliation. It felt performative. Another manipulation. The deathbed confession that wasn't actually a deathbed but could be leveraged for maximum emotional impact. I'll think about it, I told Tom. But I didn't fly to Providence. Didn't rush to Linda's bedside. Just thought about it. Sat with the complexity of someone who'd wronged me now being vulnerable. Sat with the pressure to be the bigger person, to extend grace, to forgive because life was short and family was important. All the shoulds that felt heavy and obligatory rather than genuine. A week later, Linda called me herself. Her voice was weaker, tired. Sophie, thank you for taking my call. How are you feeling? Better. Still scared. The doctor says I need to eliminate stress, and I realized I've been carrying a lot of guilt about what happened between us. I waited. Let her fill the silence. I need to tell you the truth. About the bracelet. I pawned it. I knew I pawned it. And when you arrived, when I needed to explain where it was, I panicked. I said things I shouldn't have said. Things that weren't true. And I'm sorry. I'm truly, genuinely sorry. The apology sat between us, transmitted through fiber optic cables across 3,000 miles. It sounded real. It might have been real. But it had taken a heart attack to produce it. Thank you for saying that, I said carefully. I want to make this right. I want you to come back and visit. I want us to be family again. Linda, I appreciate the apology. I do. But an apology doesn't erase what happened. You accused me of a crime. You let me leave under a cloud of suspicion. You allowed Grandma to doubt me. Those things happened. They can't happen just because you're sorry now. What do you want from me? What would make this right? I don't know if anything can make it right. That's the truth I'm living with. So you'll never forgive me? I didn't say that. I said I don't know. Forgiveness isn't a switch I can flip because you've apologized. It's a process. And right now, I'm still processing. How long will that take? As long as it takes. I'm not putting a timeline on healing from being falsely accused by family. Linda's voice tightened. I had a heart attack, Sophie. I almost died. Can't you put aside your hurt for a moment and show some compassion? There it was. The manipulation wrapped in vulnerability. The expectation that her medical crisis should override my legitimate grievance. The familiar pattern of Linda's needs taking precedence over everyone else's reality. I do have compassion for what you're going through, I said evenly. And I'm glad you're recovering. But your heart attack doesn't change what you did to me. Those are separate things. Family is supposed to be there for each other. Family is also supposed to not falsely accuse each other of theft. But here we are. I apologized. Yes. 4 months later. After a medical scare. Not because you wanted to make things right, but because you got scared and decided now was the time for deathbed confessions. That's not fair. I've been wanting to apologize. Then why didn't you? Why did it take a heart attack? Why not call me the day after I left? Why not send a letter? Why not do the hard work of making amends when it was just hard, not when it was also convenient? She didn't have an answer for that. I hope you recover fully, I said. I hope you reduce your stress and make the lifestyle changes you need. But I'm not coming back to Providence right now. And I'm not pretending that one apology fixes months of damage. You're punishing me. I'm protecting myself. There's a difference. I ended the call. Sat in my apartment, looking out at Seattle's skyline, feeling the familiar weight of being the bad guy. The ungrateful niece. The unforgiving family member. The one who couldn't just let it go. But underneath that weight was something solid. The certainty that I was right. That my boundaries were valid. That I didn't owe Linda absolution just because she decided she was ready to be absolved. Rachel called the next day. Mom said you hung up on her. I ended a conversation that was going in circles. That's not the same thing. She's really upset. She thinks you're holding her heart attack against her. I'm holding her false accusation against her. The heart attack is separate. Can't you give her a break? She apologized. She's trying. Rachel, if your mom had apologized a week after I left, we'd be having a different conversation. But she didn't. She waited until she was scared and vulnerable. That doesn't make the apology less real, but it doesn't obligate me to immediately accept it either. So, what do you want? For her to grovel? To publicly humiliate herself? I want her to understand that actions have consequences. That you can't accuse someone of a crime and then expect immediate forgiveness just because you finally admitted you were wrong. I want her to sit with the discomfort of knowing she hurt someone and that hurt doesn't disappear just because she says sorry. That sounds like punishment. It's accountability. And maybe if Linda had experienced more accountability in her life, she wouldn't think an apology is a magic eraser that makes everything okay. Rachel was quiet for a moment. You're really not coming back, are you? Not right now. Maybe not ever. I haven't decided. What about Grandma? She asks about you constantly. Grandma chose to doubt me. She chose Linda's version of events over mine. I love her, but I can't pretend that didn't happen. She's 82 years old. She was confused and scared. She was capable of telling Linda to prove her accusation before throwing me out. She chose not to. That's information about who she is and what I mean to her. So you're just writing off the whole family? I'm just being honest about what the family wrote off when they chose Linda's comfort over my dignity. You're rebuilding trust by showing up differently. Tom's been honest with me about what really happened. But Linda and Grandma? They've shown me who they are. I'm believing them. After we hung up, I thought about Grandma. About the woman who'd raised me for 3 years, who'd taught me to bake and read and stand up for myself. The same woman who doubted me when it mattered most. People are complex. They can be loving and flawed, supportive and disappointing. The grandmother who'd protected me as a child had failed to protect me as an adult. Both truths existed simultaneously. 6 months after leaving Providence, I was leading a cybersecurity conference panel when I saw a familiar face in the audience. Rachel. She waited until after the session, then approached. Surprise. You came to Seattle? Conference for work. But also to see you. To tell you something in person. She glanced around at the conference attendees still milling about. Can we get coffee? We found a quiet cafe near the convention center. Rachel looked different. More confident, maybe. Less apologetic for taking up space. Mom's doing better, she started. Physically, at least. Following the doctor's orders. But emotionally, she's struggling. She can't understand why you won't forgive her. I told her why. I know. And I agree with you. But I'm not here to advocate for her. I'm here to tell you that watching you set boundaries changed something for me. Made me realize I could set boundaries too. With Linda. With everyone. I told Mom I wouldn't be her intermediary anymore. That if she wanted to communicate with you, she could do it herself. I told her I wouldn't manage her feelings about your very reasonable response to her very unreasonable actions. And I told her that if she ever did something like that to anyone else in the family, I'd publicly call her out. How'd she take it? Not well. Lots of crying. Lots of, how can you side against your own mother? But I held firm. And you know what? It felt good. It felt like finally being an adult instead of a child managing a parent's emotions. I'm proud of you. I'm learning from you. Your refusal to accept false accusations, your willingness to walk away from family dysfunction, your insistence on truth over peacekeeping, that's what integrity looks like. And I want that for myself. We talked for 2 hours. About her kids, my work, the family dynamics that were slowly shifting now that I'd removed myself from the equation. Rachel was building her own relationship with Grandma, one that didn't require going through Linda. Tom was considering separation, tired of being married to someone who couldn't acknowledge wrongdoing. The family was reconfiguring around the hole I'd left. Not falling apart, just rearranging into new patterns that didn't include me. Do you miss it? Rachel asked. The family gatherings, the holidays, all of it? Sometimes. But I don't miss the feeling of walking on eggshells. I don't miss wondering when Linda would turn on me next. I don't miss the constant vigilance required to stay in her good graces. That's honest. That's therapy talking. I've been processing a lot about family systems and scapegoating and the roles we play. Turns out being the easy family member, the one who doesn't cause trouble, often means being the one who absorbs trouble from others. And you're done absorbing. Completely done. Rachel pulled an envelope from her bag. One more thing. This is from Grandma. She asked me to give it to you in person. I took the envelope but didn't open it immediately. Just held it, feeling its weight. She wrote it 2 weeks ago, Rachel said. I've read it. It's not what you'd expect. After Rachel left to catch her flight back to Providence, I sat in my apartment and opened the envelope. Grandma's handwriting, shaky but legible. Dear Sophie, I've started this letter a dozen times and thrown it away each time. Words fail me when I try to explain what happened. How I failed you. Why I failed you. The truth is, I was scared. When Linda accused you, I didn't want to believe it. But I also didn't want to believe Linda would lie. So I chose the easier path. I chose to think maybe there was a misunderstanding. Maybe everyone was partly right and partly wrong. Maybe if I just stayed neutral, it would sort itself out. I chose comfort over justice. My comfort over your dignity. I've had a lot of time to think about that choice. About what it cost you. About what it taught you regarding where you stand in this family. You asked me to defend you, and I didn't. I asked you to leave for Linda's sake, and you did. I let you walk out of my house believing I doubted your integrity. And I've spent every day since regretting that choice. I can't undo it. I can't take back the hurt. I can only tell you that I was wrong. That you deserved better from me. That being old and scared is an explanation, not an excuse. Linda pawned that bracelet. She lied about it. She accused you to cover her embarrassment. I knew the truth within days, and I still didn't call you. Didn't apologize. Didn't make it right. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that you were right. About everything. And I was wrong. About everything that mattered. Your mother would be ashamed of me. She trusted me with you during her hardest years, and I repaid that trust by failing you in your hardest moment. I love you. That was never in question. But love without action is just words. And I've learned that words without courage behind them mean nothing. If you never want to see me again, I understand. If you need more time, I'll wait. If you can someday forgive me, I'll be grateful. But regardless of what you decide, know this. You were right to leave. You were right to demand accountability. You were right to refuse to accept treatment you didn't deserve. You taught this old woman something about integrity. I only wish I'd learned it in time to do better by you. With love and regret. Grandma. I read the letter 3 times. Cried through the second reading. Sat with it through the third. It was the apology I'd needed. Not from Linda, who'd wronged me directly, but from Grandma, who'd failed to protect me. The acknowledgement that my response had been justified. The acceptance that love without action was hollow. I didn't call her immediately. Didn't rush to Providence. Just sat with the letter, letting it reshape something that had felt permanently broken. A week later, I called. Grandma? Sophie. Her voice broke on my name. You got my letter. I did. I meant every word. I know. We talked for an hour. About the past 6 months. About her recovery. About Linda's continued inability to sit with her own wrongdoing. About Tom's decision to move into the guest house temporarily. About how the family was navigating new boundaries and old patterns. Will you come visit? She asked. Not to the house. I could meet you somewhere neutral. A restaurant. The botanical garden. Anywhere you'd feel comfortable. Maybe. I need to think about it. Take all the time you need. I'll be here. 2 months later, I flew to Providence. Not to stay at Linda's house. To a hotel. To meet Grandma at a quiet restaurant where we could talk without an audience. She looked older. Frilier. The hip surgery had healed, but something else had diminished. Guilt, maybe. Or just the weight of being 82 and watching family fracture. We hugged carefully. Sat down. Ordered food neither of us really wanted. Thank you for coming, she said. Thank you for writing that letter. For being honest about what happened. It should have come sooner. Much sooner. Yes. But it came. That matters. We talked carefully around the edges of everything. Her health. My work. Rachel's kids. Safe topics that let us remember how to be together without the weight of accusation between us. As we were leaving, she took my hand. Will you come back again? I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. That's fair. That's more than fair. I drove back to my hotel, feeling the complexity of partial reconciliation. Not everything was fixed. Linda and I had exchanged no words. The family dynamic remained fractured. But Grandma and I had found our way back to something that might eventually become trust again. That night, Rachel texted, "How'd it go with Grandma?" Better than expected. Complicated, but better. Think you'll come back for Thanksgiving this year? I thought about that question. About the text message from 2 years ago that had started everything. About how much had changed since then. No. But maybe we can start a new tradition. You and your family come to Seattle for Thanksgiving. My city, my rules, my table. I'd really like that. Me too. If you've ever been falsely accused by family, if you've ever had to choose between keeping peace and keeping dignity, if you've ever walked away from people who demanded forgiveness without offering real accountability, you understand that some bridges can't be rebuilt. They can only be replaced with new structures built on honest foundations. I didn't get the apology I wanted from Linda. I got the one I needed from Grandma. Tom found his own integrity by documenting the truth. Rachel learned to set boundaries. And I learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to accept treatment that demeans you. The bracelet was never really missing. It was pawned, documented, accounted for. What was missing was honesty. What was lost was trust. And what I found in walking away was the understanding that I didn't need family approval to know my own worth. That knowledge was worth more than any bracelet. Worth more than any forced reconciliation. Worth more than the illusion of family harmony built on my silence. 2 years later, I spent Thanksgiving in Seattle with Rachel and her family. With Tom, who left Linda and found peace. With Grandma, who flies out annually now, staying in my guest room, rebuilding trust slowly through consistent honesty. Linda sends a card each year. I don't respond. We exist in separate orbits now, connected by shared relatives, but no longer by shared pretense. And in my office, in a locked drawer, I keep 3 things: the security footage that proved my innocence, Tom's documentation of the truth, and Grandma's letter with its hard-won honesty. Not as trophies. As reminders. That truth matters. That boundaries matter. That you teach people how to treat you by what you accept and what you refuse. I refuse to be accused without consequence. And in refusing, I created space for the people who mattered to show up differently. Some did. Some didn't. And that information was its own kind of freedom.